Okay, imagine this for a second. You've got those crisp, quiet mornings in Olds, Alberta. Maybe that smell of pine in winter, the sort of reliable rhythm of a close-knit town. Now, picture trading all that familiarity for, well, the vibrant, sun-kissed life of the Philippines. Think warm, humid air, maybe the immediate scent of fresh mango, and just this constant lively hum, a totally new rhythm.
It's a huge leap, isn't it? I mean, not just geographically, but emotionally, culturally, a real transformation.
Absolutely. And that's what we're diving into today. What does it really mean to make the Philippines your new home? Especially if you're coming from somewhere like Olds. This isn't just about, moving house. It's this profound journey of adapting, discovering yourself, and honestly, probably some massive personal growth.
Mm-hmm. And our guide for this deep dive is this really comprehensive resource. It's packed with research, but also loads of firsthand experiences from expats who've actually done it. It's kind of a shortcut, really, to understanding what this life-changing move actually involves.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is to pull out the most important insights, the practical advice, those cultural nuances you really need to know. We want to make sure you get the knowledge not just to survive, but to actually thrive over there. We'll give you those essential nuggets so you feel informed and, ready. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the why. Why would someone from a place like Old Alberta even think about packing up and moving thousands of kilometers away to the Philippines? I mean, beyond the obvious appeal of year-round sun, which, let's face it, sounds amazing after a long Canadian winter, what are the deeper reasons pulling people?
Well, what's really clear from our deep dive is that it goes way beyond just chasing the sunshine, although that's definitely part of it. We found this really profound desire for a warmer climate, yes, but also a more outdoor-focused lifestyle. Think about that shift. You're trading Olds for distinctive seasons, sometimes with serious snow, for basically year-round access to beaches, diving, stuff like that.
Yeah, I can almost feel that warmth now. Trading, like shoveling the driveway for maybe a walk on the beach. That sounds pretty good. And then there's the money side of things, the economic appeal. Apparently, your pension or savings can go significantly further there. It allows for maybe a more comfortable lifestyle on less income than you'd need back in Olds. Daily expenses are quite a bit higher in Canada, right?
They generally are, yes. But here's a crucial point, a nuance we found. While the overall cost of living is lower, it's not like everything is super cheap. The quality of certain goods, certain services can vary a lot. So it means you'll probably end up prioritizing your budget differently. You might spend more on, say, imported comforts than you ever would in Olds, but then save a ton on local food and experiences.
That's a really interesting trade-off. Okay, beyond the practical stuff, what about the people, the culture itself? We learned Filipinos are famous for their hospitality, their warmth, strong family values. It sounds like finding community might actually be easier in some ways. And of course, English being widely spoken is a huge advantage for Canadians moving over.
Definitely. And if you connect that to the broader culture, well, Olds has its community spirit, sure, but the way hospitality and social norms are expressed in the Philippines, it'll feel very different. We discovered things like indirect communication and this huge emphasis on saving face. That's quite distinct from, say, typical Canadian directness. It sort of invites you to think, doesn't it? How might that deep generosity or that strong community vibe actually feel different from Olds? And how does that align with what you value in people?
Right. And then for the really adventurous types, there's that pull towards totally new experiences, right? Stepping way outside your comfort zone. Rural Alberta is beautiful, no doubt, but it's a world away from exploring diverse landscapes, immersing yourself in this incredibly vibrant, different culture.
Yeah, having an explorer's mindset is absolutely vital. Our deep dive shows that every single day can bring some new discovery. Maybe a local dish you've never even heard of, or you stumble upon a hidden waterfall. But and this is important, that adventurous spirit needs tempering with realistic expectations. The Philippines is a developing country. It's incredible, but you will encounter varying levels of infrastructure, bureaucracy that can be, frankly, slow, and that famous Filipino time, which isn't just for parties. And yes, environmental challenges like plastic pollution, typhoons, those are real factors too.
So it sounds like adopting a curious learner mindset is non-negotiable, yeah?
Yeah.
Constantly reminding yourself, okay, this isn't old late and that's all right. It's about reframing those inevitable frustrations as learning opportunities. We even found a really practical suggestion. Dedicate maybe an hour a week before you go, just browsing expat blogs or Facebook groups like Canadians in the Philippines to figure out key questions about daily life. That's a great actionable step.
Exactly. Understanding your why and setting those realistic expectations, that's the foundation. But then once you actually make the move, Well, then comes the emotional journey.
Ah, the emotional roller coaster.
Mm.
Yes, this is where that profound personal growth really kicks in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving from olds to such a vastly different culture. It's not a quick trip. It's definitely a marathon. And we learned that culture shock isn't some kind of weakness. It's actually a normal, almost guaranteed response.
Mm-hmm. Our research breaks it down into roughly 4 phases. First, you get the honeymoon phase, usually the first few weeks, maybe up to a month. Everything feels exciting, exotic. You're just thrilled to be somewhere new, away from the old routines of olds. The advice here, enjoy it. And maybe take photos, journal about it, document those positive feelings to look back on later.
But then, and it often happens pretty quickly, comes the frustration or negotiation phase, maybe months 1 to 6, something like that. The novelty starts wearing off, and suddenly those little inconveniences, the traffic jams, the bureaucratic hoops, maybe language barriers, even different ideas about hygiene, they start feeling really, really frustrating. This is often when homesickness for olds, for Tim Hortons, or just that predictable Canadian efficiency really bites hard.
This is such a critical phase. Some strategies we uncovered include first, just acknowledging your feelings. Don't judge yourself for feeling frustrated or homesick. Practice huge amounts of patience. Try to actively understand why things are done the way they are. Like Filipino time often prioritizes relationships over rigid schedules. It's not about being lazy. And crucially, don't isolate yourself. Keep reminding yourself of your original why for moving.
Okay, then hopefully you move into the adjustment or adaptation phase, say 6 months to a year, maybe longer. This is where you start actually understanding customs. The frustration eases up a bit, and you develop coping mechanisms. You might even catch yourself saying "we" when talking about Filipinos. A key insight here is to celebrate the small wins, like mastering a new Tagalog phrase or navigating the jeepney system on your own. Those little victories matter.
They really do. And finally, there's the acceptance or mastery phase, usually after a year or more. This is where you genuinely start to feel at home. You can navigate most situations confidently, you appreciate the good stuff about the culture, and you accept the challenges as just part of the unique package.
Homesickness seems like a really big one for anyone leaving a place like Olds. We found some solid advice on staying connected, but thoughtfully. Like, schedule those video calls, but try to focus on sharing your new adventures, not just dwelling on what you miss back home. And managing expectations is key too, right? Because your family and friends back in Olds might not fully get your new perspective or what you're going through.
That's very true. Another good tip is to bring a piece of home, but selectively. A few cherished photos, maybe a favorite book, but don't try to recreate your old's living room entirely. Creating new routines is also really helpful. Establishing rituals gives you comfort and stability. Maybe indulge in familiar comforts, occasionally find a place with Western-style coffee or grab a familiar snack. Journaling your feelings can also be really cathartic. It's worth asking yourself, what's one comfort from olds you think you'll miss? How could you find a new Philippine-based equivalent, or maybe create a totally new comfort ritual there?
And building resilience, that was highlighted as absolutely essential too. We learned about approaching challenges, whether it's a power outage or losing a document, more like solving a puzzle. Practicing what was called flexible surrender, learning to genuinely go with the flow, and finding humor in those unexpected, sometimes absurd situations. It really calls for being kind to yourself, having self-compassion, and celebrating those small victories again.
Definitely. And a great actionable step, even before you leave Olds, is to think back. Reflect on a time you successfully adapted to a big change in your life. How can you tap into those same strengths, that same resilience for your move to the Philippines? You've done it before, you can do it again.
Okay, so what does all this preparation mean for actually cultivating an open heart? Because you're not just leaving Olds physically, you're leaving behind a whole way of thinking, a framework of assumptions and expectations. To really thrive, it seems like it's about consciously letting go of some things.
Exactly. Your Canadian background, especially coming from a place like Olds, likely instilled expectations around efficiency, directness, maybe even personal space. Our research strongly suggests you need to release those expectations of how things should be. In Olds, you expect government processes to be pretty streamlined. You expect punctuality. In the Philippines, bureaucracy can be slow. Filipino time is real. Service might operate at a pace that feels different.
That's a huge mental shift. It makes you think, how can you prepare yourself to react differently when you hit inefficiency? To reframe it as just a difference, not necessarily a flaw. It really sounds like letting go of that need for constant control. Life there seems much more spontaneous, unexpected delays, sure, but also maybe sudden, wonderful opportunities popping up.
That's where that flexible surrender comes in again. finding joy even when things don't go exactly to plan. And critically, we learned about unpacking the comparison trap. It's so natural to compare your new life to old's, right?
Mm.
But constantly making negative comparisons, oh, this isn't as good as it is in Canada, that just breeds resentment. It blocks you from actually connecting.
Right. Instead, it's about making a conscious effort to pivot, to find something positive or unique or just interesting about the Philippine way of doing things. It really boils down to choosing curiosity over judgment, observing things actively, asking open-ended questions respectfully, of course, and just immersing yourself, trying new foods, going to festivals, attempting even basic Tagalog.
Yeah, consider this. Pick one cultural practice that might initially feel strange or different to you. Then make a commitment to find out its origin or its deeper meaning. Maybe ask a local friend or do a little research. How might understanding the why behind it profoundly shift your perception?
And finally, maybe the most important part, finding joy in the simple pleasures. Imagine the taste of a perfectly ripe mango, the warmth of a stranger's smile, hearing kids laughing as they play, the crazy vibrant colors of a passing jeepney, embracing spontaneity, connecting with nature, and actively cultivating gratitude. A practical approach we found was, each evening, just take a minute to identify 3 specific moments of joy or beauty or something interesting you observed that day. It helps retrain your focus onto the positive. Okay, now that we've kind of calibrated our inner compass, let's tackle the next big piece, often the most intimidating part, the real-world logistics, the paper trail, visas, documents, all that stuff that makes the dream actually happen.
Right. It can definitely feel like navigating a maze, especially coming from the relatively straightforward government processes you might be used to in alt. Our deep dive lays out the main visa options. First up, the tourist visa. Canadians get 30 days visa-free entry initially. You can extend this, sometimes up to 36 months, by visiting the Bureau of Immigration, or BI. It's simple for entry, but it means regular trips to the BI office, and crucially, you have no legal right to work.
So, fine for an initial look-see trip, but definitely not for putting down roots. Okay, what else? The SRRV.
Yes, the Special Resident Retirees Visa, the SRV. This is specifically for folks aged 50 and over who want to retire there. It's managed by the Philippine Retirement Authority, the PRA. It usually requires a fixed deposit anywhere from, say, $10,000 to $50,000 US. In some cases, that deposit can even be used for certain investments.
Wow, okay. And what are the benefits of that one?
Well, the SRV offers indefinite stay, multiple entries, sometimes tax exemptions, and you get assistance from the PRA. The main drawback is that substantial deposit is tied up. For anyone considering retirement there, it's definitely worth checking the PRA website, pra.gov.ph, for the specific SRV category details and requirements that apply to you.
Got it. Then there's the work visa, the prearranged employment visa, or 9G visa. This is if you get hired by a Philippine company, right?
Exactly. Your employer sponsors it. You also need something called an Alien Employment Permit, or AEP, from the Department of Labor and Employment, DOLA. It gives you legal work rights and long-term residency, but the process is pretty complex, and it's totally dependent on your employer keeping you on. And here's that critical warning again. Never work on a tourist visa. It's illegal. Penalties can be severe deportation, getting blacklisted. Just don't do it.
Okay, loud and clear. Now, this sounds really exciting, the new digital nomad visa. Tell us about that.
Yes. This is a potential game changer for a lot of people. We found that as of mid-2025, they're expecting applications to open. This visa allows remote workers, people with foreign employers or clients, to stay for 1 year, and it's renewable. You have to prove you have sufficient foreign source income unofficially. The figure floating around is about $24,000 USD a year, or maybe $2,000, plus health insurance, no criminal record.
So it basically legalizes remote work from the Philippines, which is huge. And you mentioned generally no local tax on that foreign income.
That's the understanding, yes, which is a massive perk if you're keeping your Canadian income, for example. The main advice here is just to keep a close eye on official BI announcements for the exact DNV requirements and process as they finalize it.
Right. So regardless of which visa path you take, the application process itself requires patience.
Oh, absolutely. Patience is key. Meticulous document gathering is essential. Originals, multiple photocopies, notarization, authentication. The good news for Canadians is that since 2024, Canada joined the Hague Apostille Convention, which should streamline some of that document authentication process. Using a reputable immigration lawyer can definitely save headaches, but be really wary of unofficial fixers promising shortcuts. They often cause more problems.
And that Filipino time applies here too, huh? Delays, long queues, maybe multiple visits to government offices.
Expect it, yes. Maintaining a polite, calm demeanor is always, always your best strategy. Bring a book, bring snacks. A smart move before you even apply is to download the official forms from the BI, PRA, or DOLE websites, cross-reference everything with info from the Canadian Embassy, and maybe reliable expat forums.
Okay. And once you have all those precious documents, passport, visa, ACR, I-card,
Yeah.
how do you manage them safely?
Security is paramount. Keep your original documents, passport, visa, your alien certificate of registration I-card, or ACR I-card in a secure place. Think fireproof, waterproof if possible. Scan absolutely everything. Save digital copies to a secure cloud service and an external hard drive. Password protect them. Keep physical photocopies somewhere separate and accessible. Carry a color photocopy or a photo of your passport and visa pages on your phone, but avoid carrying the originals unless you absolutely have to. Your ACR I-card, though that's your main ID as a legal resident, you should carry that with you pretty much always.
Okay, moving from the paper trail to the actual cash flow. Let's talk money. Cost of living is a big draw, as we said, especially coming from olds.
It absolutely is. Our deep dive confirms that overall, yes, the cost of living is significantly lower than in Canada. Rent is a big one, noticeably lower. Local food is incredibly affordable. That's a huge contrast to daily expenses back in olds. However,
Right.
those imported goods, things you might be used to buying easily in Canada, they can be surprisingly expensive due to import taxes and shipping costs.
Right. And you mentioned electricity and internet can actually be quite high, especially if you like your air conditioning.
Yeah, that can be a shock for some people. Electricity rates can be high, and AC is a big drain, so it's definitely not cheap across the board. We found a useful exercise is to track your expenses in olds for a month before you leave. Then try to project an initial Philippine budget using online tools like Numbeo or by reading expat blogs. It helps you see where the real savings will be and where new expenses might pop up.
Makes sense. What about banking? Setting up a local account must be pretty essential.
It is, yeah. The major banks are BDO Unibank, Metrobank, Bank of the Philippine Islands, BPI. There are others, too. To open a full account as a foreigner, you'll generally need your long-term visa and that ACR I-card. It might be tricky on just a tourist visa. The process itself can take a while. You'll need your passport, proof of your address in the Philippines, maybe proof of income, and often a tax identification number, or TIN.
Okay. And getting money into that account from Canada, how does that work best?
Transferring funds safely is crucial. Traditional wire transfers using SWIFT are secure but can be slow and expensive with fees on both ends. Online money transfer services like Wise, it used to be TransferWise or Remitly, World Remit, they're generally much faster, cheaper, and give you better exchange rates. They're very popular with expats. For quick cash, using your Canadian debit or credit card at international ATMs works, but watch out for foreign transaction fees from your bank back home, plus the local ATM withdrawal fee, which is usually around 250 Philippine pesos per transaction. A really good actionable step here is to set up and actually test an account with a reputable online transfer service like Wise or Remitly before you even leave Olds. Get familiar with it. It just makes that financial transition much smoother when you arrive.
Good tip. And then the T word, taxation. This always raises questions. How does that work for expats moving from Canada?
It's definitely something to understand up front. Generally, if you reside in the Philippines for more than 182 days in a calendar year, you're considered a tax resident there. Any income you earn within the Philippines is taxable. Income earned from outside the Philippines, foreign-sourced income, is a bit more nuanced, depends on your residency status. But as we mentioned, for holders of the new digital nomad visa, the rule is generally that their foreign-sourced income is not taxed in the Philippines. Plus, there's a Canada-Philippines tax treaty designed to prevent you from being taxed twice on the same income.
Okay, so it sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Definitely not something to guess at.
Absolutely not. The crucial insight here is consult an international tax professional, someone who understands both Canadian and Philippine tax laws. Do this before you move. They can help you understand your specific obligations based on your income sources and visa type, and maybe even help you optimize things. It's a really vital upfront investment to avoid problems down the road.
Okay, let's shift gears to finding your actual base camp. Housing and utilities, that's going to feel pretty different from finding a place in Olds, I bet. What are the typical options?
Well, in the major cities, condominiums, condos are super common. They often come with amenities like security guards, swimming pools, maybe a gym. They're convenient, often come furnished. The downsides, they can be smaller spaces and pretty expensive in the really popular areas. Apartments or flats are also common, especially in more residential parts of cities. They might offer more space for your money, but usually have fewer amenities.
And what if you want something more like a house, maybe with a bit of yard like you might have had in Olds?
Houses and townhouses are definitely available, especially outside the main central business districts or within gated communities. They call them subdivisions. They offer more space, more privacy, maybe even a garden, but you might need a car, have less access to public transport, and potentially more maintenance. When thinking about housing, it's useful to consider what Olds activities do you enjoy that depend on your location, like walking to shops or having a garden? How does that influence where you might want to live in the Philippines?
Finding a place seems to have its own strategies, too. Online platforms, agents.
Yep, online platforms like lamoody.com.ph, myproperty.ph, even local Facebook groups are good starting points. Real estate agents can be helpful, give you more listings, help with viewings and negotiations. Just make sure they're licensed and reputable. And don't underestimate word of mouth. Talk to other expats, talk to locals. Sometimes just walking around a neighborhood you like and looking for rent signs works too. A smart, actionable step is to research average rental prices in the areas you're interested in before you arrive. Maybe arrange some viewings with an agent for your first week, but definitely don't commit to anything long-term without seeing it in person first.
Good advice. And what should you look out for when you're looking at places?
Security is a big one. Look for places with 247 security, especially if it's not in a gated community. Also, consider the risk of flooding, particularly during the rainy season, which runs roughly June to November. Ask about the flood history of the area or building. Proximity to things that matter to you work, maybe schools, markets, hospitals, public transport is key. Furnished versus unfurnished. Lease terms are usually for 1 year. Expect to pay 1 or 2 months rent in advance, plus a deposit of 2 or 3 months rent. And utilities are almost always extra, though condo association dues might cover some basics.
Okay, let's talk utilities. Powering your new island home. Compared to the pretty standard setup in Olds, this must be quite different.
It certainly can be. Electricity, often from providers like Meralco in the Manila area, can be surprisingly expensive, especially if you run the air conditioning a lot, which many people do. Power interruptions, they call them brownouts, are also fairly common, especially outside the main business districts or during storms. So having a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply for your computer and other sensitive electronics is a really good idea, or at least keeping power banks charged for your phone. And tap water, generally it's not safe to drink directly. Almost everyone buys purified bottled water, often delivered in those big 5-gallon blue jugs.
Right, got it. And internet, that's crucial for most expats.
For sure. Providers like PLDT, Globe, and Converge ICT offer home internet. Fiber optic is definitely the best option if you can get it in your specific building or area, but installation can sometimes take weeks. Be prepared for that. Garbage collection is usually managed by your local barangay, that's like the smallest administrative division. You'll likely need to segregate your waste into biodegradable, recyclable, and residual. A really key insight here is, when looking at a place to rent, ask about the previous utility bills, especially electricity, and ask how frequent brownouts are in that specific area. It gives you a realistic picture.
Staying connected, absolutely vital for expats, right? Especially when your support network from Olds is suddenly thousands of kilometers away. Mobile phones must become your lifeline pretty quickly.
They really, really do. The main mobile providers are Globe Telecom, Smart Communications, and a newer one called DITO Telecommunity. Most expats start with a prepaid SIM card. It's the easiest. You buy the SIM, you buy load or credits, and then you use an app or text codes to convert that load into packages, promos for data, calls, and texts. And a crucial point, as of 2023, all SIM cards, prepaid or postpaid, must be registered using a valid ID. For foreigners, that's usually your passport. You have to do this to activate the SIM.
Okay, so a smart move is, when you land at the airport, find a Globe or Smart kiosk, get a prepaid SIM, and register it right there and then. Ask them to help you load a basic data and call promo to get you started. You can easily top up your load later at convenience stores, supermarkets, payment centers, or even through mobile banking apps. An actionable step is to download the official mobile app for whichever provider you choose, like Globe One or GigaLife, and get familiar with their promos and how to subscribe.
Exactly. And for calling back home to Canada, use apps like WhatsApp, Messenger, Viber over Wi-Fi, or mobile data. It's usually free or very cheap. Using your Canadian SIM card for roaming long-term will cost a fortune.
Right. And what about internet access at home? Fixed line.
Yep, the same companies, PLDT, Globe, Converge ICT, offer fixed-line home internet. Again, pure fiber optic is the best if it's available where you live, but installation can sometimes take weeks, so factor that in. Mobile data from your phone's SIM card or using a portable pocket Wi-Fi device can provide internet on the go or act as a crucial backup.
Especially during those brownouts, right? Good point.
Exactly. A key insight is to always have some kind of backup internet plan ready, whether it's keeping a data promo active on your phone or having a charged pocket Wi-Fi device, because when the power goes out, your home internet probably will too, unless you have a UPS for your modem and router.
Okay, let's talk about health. Your well-being is obviously paramount when you're living abroad, and the healthcare system in the Philippines must be quite a shift from what you're used to in Olds, Alberta.
It is indeed. Our deep dive really emphasizes that for most expats, the private healthcare system is the way to go. Why? Because private hospitals generally offer higher standards of care, more modern facilities, English-speaking staff, and shorter waiting times compared to the public system. Public hospitals are government-funded, but they can often be overcrowded, facilities might be more basic, and they're generally not the first choice for routine expat healthcare.
So private hospitals in the main cities are the focus. We're talking about places like St. Luke's Medical Center, Makati Medical Center in Metro Manila, those kinds of places, often with international accreditation like JCI.
Precisely. Those are some of the top-tier ones, known for high standards. A really good actionable step is to research the private hospitals in the specific city or region you're planning to live in before you even leave Olds. Identify maybe 2 top choices. Note down their addresses, contact numbers, and critically, their emergency hotline numbers. Keep that info handy.
Got it. And insurance. That sounds like it's pretty much non-negotiable.
It really is. It's your essential safety net. There's PhilHealth, which is the National Health Insurance Program. Expats can sometimes enroll. It provides some subsidies, but the coverage is often not comprehensive enough for what most expats prefer, especially if you want consistent access to top private hospitals. Think of it maybe as a basic supplement, not your primary coverage. Private international health insurance is truly the best option. It gives you comprehensive coverage and peace of mind.
That seems critical. We found that securing international health insurance before you leave Olds is essential. And make sure it includes coverage for medical evacuation and repatriation. That's a big one. Get multiple quotes, compare the policies, carefully look at deductibles, coverage limits, direct billing options versus reimbursement.
Absolutely vital. And don't forget proactive prevention, especially concerning tropical illnesses you might not encounter in Olds. Visit a travel clinic back in Canada, maybe in Calgary or Edmonton, about 6 to 8 weeks before you fly out. Get an individual risk assessment and make sure your routine vaccinations are up to date. They'll likely recommend travel-specific vaccines like hepatitis A and typhoid. Those are spread through contaminated food or water, maybe Japanese encephalitis if you'll be in rural areas, and rabies is often recommended for long-term stays, especially if you might be around animals, as the Philippines is considered high risk. Malaria prevention might be discussed too, depending on where exactly you'll be living.
Okay, and what about common illnesses like dengue fever?
Dengue, chikungunya, Zika, they're all spread by mosquitoes. There's no vaccine for dengue, so prevention is absolutely key. That means using insect repellent diligently, wearing long sleeves and pants, especially at dawn and dusk, using mosquito nets if needed, and getting rid of any standing water around your home where mosquitoes breed. For avoiding traveler's diarrhea, the classic advice holds: boil it, cook it, peel it, or forget it. Stick to bottled water. Practice good hand hygiene. The mindset here shouldn't be paranoia, but rather vigilance, just being mindful of your surroundings, careful about what you eat and drink, and taking those simple preventative steps. It's like preparing for harsh winter weather in Olds. Just a different set of environmental factors to be aware of.
Right. What about bringing prescription medications?
Yeah.
And handling emergencies?
If you take prescription meds, bring a sufficient supply to start at least a month's worth, maybe more. Keep them in their original packaging, and bring copies of your prescriptions and maybe a doctor's letter explaining what they're for. Know the generic names of your medications, as brand names can differ or might not be available. Some highly specialized drugs might be hard to find, so plan ahead. Pharmacies, called botica, are everywhere. Chains like Mercury Drug or Watson's are common in cities. Many are open 247. Interestingly, many medications that need a prescription in Canada are available over-the-counter there. For emergencies, the national hotline is 911 that covers police, fire, and ambulance. But in major cities, it's often faster to call the specific emergency number for the private hospital you'd prefer to go to.
Okay. A practical prompt we found was to create a little physical emergency info card to keep in your wallet. Put your name, blood type, any allergies, current medications, emergency contacts, both in the Philippines and back in Canada, and your health insurance policy number and contact info. Really smart idea.
Very smart. Having that info readily available could be crucial.
All right, now that we've navigated the practical maze, let's dive into the real heart of the matter. The Filipino culture. Building connections, understanding the language. This feels like where the self-help journey really deepens, moving beyond just getting by.
It truly is. And the culture is incredibly rich, built on some core values. Familia, family orientation, is absolutely central. It's the cornerstone. We're talking extended family here, far beyond just the parents and kids. Loyalty, obligation to family run incredibly deep. It's common for adult children to care for elderly parents, often in multi-generational households. That's quite a contrast to the strong emphasis on independence in Canada, right?
Definitely. A key insight seems to be embrace that warmth. Accept invitations to family gatherings when offered their golden opportunities to understand Filipino life. And don't be put off by personal questions about your family. It's usually coming from a place of genuine interest, not trying to be nosy.
Exactly. Then there's the famous Filipino hospitality. It's embodied in concepts like pakikipagkapwa, which is about shared identity and empathy, and pakikisama, which is all about getting along, maintaining smooth relationships. Filipinos are known for being incredibly warm, generous, and showing deference to guests. You will be offered food, drinks, assistance constantly. Refusing too directly can actually be seen as impolite, a helpful tip. Accept offers gracefully, even if it's just a tiny bite or a small sip. And learn some polite ways to decline if you really need to, like, hindi po, busog pa po ako, meaning, no thank you, I'm still full. Or maybe, hindi po, mamaya na lang po, like, maybe later. Always say it with a smile.
This ties into respecting elders too, doesn't it? We learned about manapo, that gesture of touching an elder's hand to your forehead. And crucially, using po and opo. These little words seem really important. Po as a general politeness marker, and opo as a respectful yes. A practical prompt we found was to consciously try to sprinkle po and opo into your conversations from day one, especially with older people or those in authority. It's simple but shows huge respect.
It absolutely does. Now, here's where communication gets really fascinating and potentially tricky for Canadians. The concept of saving face. This involves haya, pronounced hiya, which relates to shame, embarrassment, maintaining dignity, and avoiding causing public humiliation for yourself or for others. And also amor propio, which is about self-esteem and being sensitive to personal slights or criticisms.
Okay, so how does that actually impact communication day to day?
Well, because causing someone to lose face, to feel haya, is highly undesirable, Filipinos often avoid direct confrontation or criticism. They might hesitate to give a direct no because it could cause offense or embarrassment. Instead, they might use more indirect language, maybe seem to agree even if they don't fully, or give non-committal answers. It's a huge difference from the directness often valued in olds. So you really have to learn to read between the lines. If you need to give feedback, do it privately, gently. Frame it constructively. If a yes feels hesitant or vague, it might actually mean probably not, or I'm uncomfortable with that.
Wow, that's a big adjustment. It really highlights the difference between communication styles.
Exactly. Canadian culture, like in olds, is generally low context, meaning relies mostly on the explicit words spoken. Filipino culture is high context, meaning is derived heavily from the context, the tone of voice, body language, the relationship between the speakers, unspoken cues, all that stuff. The implication. Your direct Canadian style might sometimes come across as abrupt or even rude without you intending it. You need to pay much more attention to nonverbal cues. Also, be prepared for Filipinos to ask you quite personal questions. It's usually a sign of friendly interest, building connection, not being intrusive. Reciprocate if you feel comfortable. Practice active listening that goes beyond just the literal words. If you hear maybe or try, consider the whole context, the tone. Maybe rephrase your own questions sometimes to make it easier for someone to express hesitation comfortably.
And then there's Filipino time. We touched on it with bureaucracy, but it applies socially too.
Oh yes. Socially, it's quite relaxed. For parties or casual gatherings, arriving 15, 30, even 45 minutes later than the stated time is often completely normal, even expected. For formal business meetings, punctuality is generally expected, but delays still happen frequently. The insight here, expecting North American precision timing, like you might in olds, will just lead to frustration. For social events, maybe build in a buffer yourself. Aim to arrive a little later, too. For business appointments, be on time, but always bring something to read or do, just in case. Try not to take delays personally. Cultivate that patience.
It's fascinating how deeply faith seems woven into daily life too. predominantly Roman Catholic, right? Over 80%.
Yes, absolutely. Religion plays a huge role in daily life, holidays, family values. You'll see churches everywhere, hear religious music, sense a strong undercurrent of faith. You don't have to share the beliefs, obviously, but respecting practices and understanding the role faith plays really deepens your cultural understanding.
And finally, that famous Filipino smile and sense of humor.
Yes. Despite challenges, Filipinos are widely known for their resilience, their optimism, their readiness to smile. Humor is often used as a coping mechanism, a way to find lightness in difficult situations. The simple tip: smile back. A genuine smile crosses all language barriers and instantly helps build connections. Try to embrace the lighter side of things.
Okay, let's switch to language itself. We know English is widely spoken, especially in cities and tourist areas. So why does learning Tagalog, or maybe a local dialect, really matter for someone moving from Olds? Is it worth the effort?
Our research says absolutely yes. It goes way beyond just practical communication. Making an effort to learn the local language, even just basic phrases, is seen as a huge sign of respect. It shows humility, that you're genuinely engaged, and not just expecting everyone to adjust to you. That effort is deeply, deeply appreciated. Simple phrases open doors to much warmer interactions. It makes daily life smoother. Think about dealing with market vendors, tricycle drivers, people in smaller local shops. And honestly, it's great for personal growth too. Learning a language exercises your brain, boosts your confidence, and really helps you feel more integrated, less like an outsider.
So it's a powerful way to show respect and build those connections. What about pronunciation? Tagalog sounds quite different from English. Is it hard to pick up?
It's generally phonetic, which actually makes it easier in some ways than English. What you see is mostly what you say. The vowels are pretty consistent. A is A, E is A, I is E, O is O, U is U. There are a few sounds to get used to, like NU. It's a single sound, like the end of the word sing. You hear it in words like engayon now. The R is often rolled, like in Spanish, and consonants like P, T, K are usually less aspirated, less of a puff of air than in English. Stress is also really important. Changing the stress can actually change the meaning of a word. Like buhay, bu-o-hai means life, but buhay, bu-h-a-i means alive.
Right.
A good actionable exercise is just to listen a lot. Find native speakers online, YouTube lessons, Filipino music, news clips, and really try to mimic the sounds you hear.
Okay. What are some absolute must-know survival phrases to get started, those first steps to connection?
All right, greetings are key. Kumusta? Hello, how are you, Nala? Magandang kahapon gabi. Good morning, afternoon, evening, salamat. Thank you. Walang anuman. You're welcome. Paalam is a formal goodbye, but bye-bye or sige. Okay, go ahead. Are more common informally. Kita-kits means see you again. Kulinis essentials, these are crucial for showing respect. Remember, use it often. Salamat mo, kumusta po kayo? How are you, formal plural? Apo is the respectful yes, hindi po is the respectful no. Please is often implied or use the prefix paki before a verb like pakiabot po, please pass. Basic questions. Magkano? How much? Saan? Where is saan? Ano ito yun? What is it dan? Hindi ko maintindihan. I don't understand. Pakiulit po. Can you repeat that, please? Tubig ba? Tama na. Pakiuli, paki-food, and very important, masarap, delicious. Pakisap can mean excuse me or please. Getting around sa palengke to the market, sa mall to the mall. Stop please. You yell this in jeepneys or tricycles. Kaliwa left, sa kanan, right. Diretso, straight ahead.
Masarap. Definitely adding that one to my list. Our deep dive also mentions some grammar basics, but maybe for beginners, focusing on phrases is better than getting bogged down in rules.
Absolutely. Focus on learning useful phrases and vocabulary first. Grammar will come gradually. For learning strategies, immersion is king. Listen actively whenever you can. Try to guess meaning from context. Watch local TV shows or movies. Listen to Filipino music. OPM original Filipino music is great. Use language apps like Duolingo, Memorize, or apps specifically for Tagalog phrases. Google Translate is useful for quick lookups, but don't rely on it for complex sentences. Check out YouTube channels. There are tons teaching Tagalog. Look for online dictionaries or language forums. If you can, find a language exchange partner. You teach them English, they teach you Tagalog. Or consider hiring an affordable local tutor.
And maybe the most encouraging tip, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Please don't. Filipinos are generally incredibly encouraging and patient with foreigners trying to learn. They really appreciate the effort, even if your grammar isn't perfect. Just try. A great practical prompt. Challenge yourself to learn just one new Tagalog phrase or word every single day for your first month. Think about how you can actually use it in a real conversation. Make it fun.
Okay, let's move on to arguably the most enjoyable part, The food, the festivities, the fun. Really embracing the Filipino lifestyle beyond just the day-to-day logistics.
Ah, yes, Filipino cuisine. It's a fantastic blend of influences. You get hints of Spanish, Chinese, Malay, even American flavors. Must-try dishes. Adobo, of course, often called the national dish, usually pork or chicken stewed in vinegar, soy sauce, garlic. Sinigang, that wonderfully sour tamarind-based soup, often with pork or shrimp. Lechon, the whole roasted pig with that incredibly crispy skin, a real celebration food. And lumpia spring rolls, either the fried Shanghai style or the fresh sariwa version.
Getting hungry already. And for dessert, Halo seems legendary. That mix of shaved ice, milk, sweet beans, jellies, leche flan, everything. Plus things like pancit noodles and kare, the oxtail stew. But what about street food? That can feel a bit daunting compared to, say, grabbing a hot dog from a street vendor in Olds.
Yeah, it's vibrant and super affordable, but our deep dive advises starting cautiously, especially when your stomach is still adjusting. Choose stalls that look busy and clean, where they're cooking the food fresh to order. Popular, generally safe bets to start with might be Isaw, grilled chicken or pork intestines, surprisingly tasty, quick, bright orange battered quail eggs, fish balls or kikiam, processed seafood sticks, fried, banana Q or turon, caramelized bananas or banana spring rolls. A key insight here is that overcoming any initial apprehension about street food is a big step, and food is such a universal language. Sharing a meal, even a simple street snack, is a great way to connect.
And for a more substantial, authentic local meal, you mentioned the Carinderia experience.
Yes. Carinderias are small, often family-run eateries serving home-cooked Filipino dishes, usually displayed in pots or trays. They're incredibly affordable. You typically just point to the dishes you want. Turo means point. It's a fantastic way to eat like a local, try different things without ordering a huge portion, and interact with everyday Filipinos.
Sounds great. And the fresh produce must be amazing, too.
Oh, definitely. Indulge in all the tropical fruits. Mangoes, pineapples, papayas, of course, but also try things like durian, if you dare, rambutan, mangosteen, lanzones. And the fresh seafood at the local wet markets, palenque, it's incredible. Consider this a fun goal. Aim to try one new Filipino dish or fruit every week for your first 3 months. Which one will you start with? Maybe some calamansi juice, like a tiny lime, super refreshing, or a saba banana, often used in cooking.
Filipinos seem to love celebrating, too. The calendar is packed with festivals and holidays.
They really do. They have the longest Christmas season in the world. It unofficially starts in September. You'll hear carols everywhere. Leading up to Christmas, there are dawn masses called Simangabi, Holy Week, Semana Santa. Before Easter is a very solemn time with lots of traditions, processions, sometimes even reenactments. And then almost every town and city has its own local fiesta, usually celebrating a patron saint. These are incredibly vibrant, noisy, colorful celebrations with parades, food, music, often beauty pageants, just a huge community party.
Wow. An actionable tip we found was to check local government or tourism websites for upcoming events and festivals in your area. Plan to attend at least one small local fiesta if you can. Sounds like a guaranteed way to experience the real heart of Filipino life.
Absolutely, and you'll likely be welcomed with open arms.
And for leisure time, beyond the world-famous beaches and islands, Boracay, Palawan, Siargao, there's more to explore, right? Mountains, nature.
Definitely. You can explore volcanoes like Tao, near Manila, or Mayon, famous for its perfect cone shape, discover stunning waterfalls hidden in the jungles, see the incredible Banawi rice terraces up north. Reconnecting with nature, the ocean, the sun, that incredible natural beauty can be really therapeutic, especially when you're dealing with the stresses of adapting to a new country. In the cities, entertainment often revolves around the giant shopping malls. They're more than just places to shop. They're community hubs with cinemas, arcades, restaurants, food courts, often even chapels or medical clinics inside. And karaoke, or video as it's often called there, is practically a national pastime. Don't be shy, embrace it. Even if you can't sing, joining in is part of the fun.
Huh. Okay, good to know. Here's a thought. What 3 leisure activities you enjoy in Olds could you adapt or find a replacement for in the Philippines? Maybe swap skiing for exploring volcanoes, or trade ice fishing for snorkeling. Maybe quiet evenings reading get replaced by lively karaoke nights sometimes.
Great way to think about it. It's about finding new joys.
Finally, building a social life. This is so crucial for combating homesickness and really feeling like you belong.
It is. We learned that expat communities can be a vital lifeline, especially initially. Look for online forums or Facebook groups, things like expats in your city region, or specific ones like Canadians in the Philippines. They're great for practical advice, sharing experiences, finding out about meetups, It's a ready-made support network of people who understand what you're going through.
But it's important not to only hang out with other expats.
Yeah.
Like, connecting with locals is key, too.
Absolutely essential for deeper integration. Be friendly, be open. A simple smile and attempting a Tagalog greeting can go a long way. Your neighbors can often become your first local friends. Consider joining local clubs based on your interests. Maybe a hiking group, a photography club, a sports team. Basketball is huge. Volunteer groups. Embrace invitations and spontaneity. A key insight to remember, linking back to homesickness. Building a social life, whether with expats or locals, takes conscious effort. Be patient with yourself and others, but be persistent in putting yourself out there and seeking connections.
Okay, as we move into the final part of our deep dive, let's talk about building a truly fulfilling, maybe even long-term life in the Philippines. This involves thinking about work, maybe business opportunities, which seem quite different from the Canadian job market you'd find in Olds.
They are quite different, yes. Our deep dive makes it very clear. Finding direct employment as a foreigner is generally challenging. The Philippines prioritizes hiring its own citizens, which is understandable. So for a company to legally hire a foreigner, they usually have to prove to the Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE, that no qualified Filipino is available for that specific role. This often means expats need highly specialized skills. Common roles where you do find expats include things like ESL teaching, maybe senior management, or specialized training roles in the business process outsourcing BPO sector, high-level IT or engineering roles, or executive positions in multinational corporations, sometimes in hospitality or tourism management.
So if you're moving from Oldsies hoping to just easily find a local job like you might back home, it's likely not that straightforward. You'll need that alien employment permit, AEP from DOL, and the 9G work visa from the Bureau of Immigration, both sponsored by your employer. And worth repeating that crucial warning, absolutely do not work on a tourist visa. It's illegal, penalties are severe deportation, being blacklisted from returning. Just don't risk it.
Exactly. Now, what about starting your own business? For expats with an entrepreneurial streak, this can offer more control. A sole proprietorship is generally not an option for foreigners. The most common structure is a corporation. However, the Foreign Investments Act places limits. Generally, foreign ownership is capped at 40% in what are called partially nationalized industries. This includes things like retail trade, real estate brokerage, certain professional services, but 100% foreign ownership is allowed in non-nationalized industries. Think manufacturing, certain IT services, businesses that are primarily export-oriented.
Okay, that's a really important distinction. A practical prompt here is, before you even start brainstorming business ideas, research the specific foreign ownership limitations for the industry you're interested in. That will massively impact your legal structure and whether you'll need Filipino partners. And navigating the bureaucracy to actually register a business sounds like another test of patience.
Oh, it absolutely is. You'll likely deal with multiple agencies. The Department of Trade and Industry, DTI, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, BIR, your local government unit, LGU, maybe even SSS, PhilHealth, PAG-IBIG for employee contributions. It takes time and persistence. A really critical tip: get professional help. Seek advice from reputable Filipino law firms and accounting firms that specialize in foreign investments and business registration. Paying for good advice up front is crucial to ensure you're compliant and avoid major headaches later.
Now, something that's really changing the game, as we mentioned, is the rise of the digital nomad. For many people, earning income from outside the Philippines while living there seems like the ideal setup. Your Canadian salary, for instance, goes way further.
It offers huge financial advantages, plus immense freedom and flexibility. You can potentially keep your job based in Olds or work for clients globally, all while living in a tropical paradise.
And the massive news here is that official digital nomad visa.
Yes. Our deep dive confirmed it. Executive Order NEM 86 officially launched it in April 2025, and applications were expected to open around the end of July 2025. This finally provides a clear legal pathway for remote workers.
So this visa allows foreign nationals to live in the Philippines and legally work remotely for their overseas employers or clients. No local employment allowed under this visa. It's initially for 1 year and renewable for another. You need to be 18 or over, prove you're doing remote work using digital tech, show you have sufficient foreign-sourced income. That unofficial figure of around $24,000 USD per year keeps popping up, plus valid health insurance and no criminal record. And crucially, as we discussed, DNV holders generally aren't considered tax residents for that foreign income, meaning typically no Philippine tax on it. Though, always double-check your Canadian tax obligations with a professional.
This visa really is a potential game changer for people wanting to live long-term in the Philippines while keeping their overseas career going. The best advice right now is just to closely monitor the official Bureau of Immigration website and announcements for the final, confirmed DNV requirements and the exact application process. Be ready with your documentation.
Okay. And finally, whether you find local work, start a business, or work remotely, understanding the local work culture is important, right? It sounds quite different from a typical workplace in Olds.
Very different rhythms, often. Hierarchy and respect for authority are usually quite pronounced. Deference is shown to supervisors and managers, often through language using sir or ma'am using po. It's also very relationship-oriented. Building personal connections, that pakikisama or camaraderie, is often considered just as important, if not more so, than just focusing purely on tasks, which might be more common in some Western workplaces like in Olds. Socializing, celebrating team milestones that builds teamwork.
And that indirect communication style comes into play here too. Avoiding direct criticism to save hiya.
Absolutely. Feedback is often given very indirectly. You need to learn to read between the lines or pick up on subtle cues. Teamwork and group harmony are highly valued. Individual achievements might be downplayed a bit in favor of collective success. There can also be a more flexible approach to deadlines or schedules sometimes. Personal or family matters might genuinely take precedence. And there's a concept called utang na loob, a debt of gratitude. Good relationships and support are often repaid with strong loyalty and extra effort.
So if you find yourself working with Filipinos, what's the strategy?
Observe. Listen carefully. Ask polite questions about how things are normally done. If you're managing people, invest time in building rapport, not just assigning tasks. Provide feedback constructively and always privately. Understand that a hesitant no, or even a yes, might sometimes mean, I'll try my best, but I have concerns. Patience and genuine cultural sensitivity are huge assets in the Philippine workplace.
Okay, moving beyond just living and working, let's talk about that next level, becoming part of the community fabric.
Yeah.
Volunteering, giving back, really connecting.
This really taps into that core Filipino spirit of bayanihan. We mentioned it earlier. It means communal unity, cooperation, helping each other out selflessly. The classic image is the whole community literally picking up and moving a neighbor's traditional nipa hut. Today, it translates to collective efforts, maybe helping out after a typhoon, supporting a neighbor in need, working together on a community project, all without expecting anything specific in return. It's about shared responsibility.
That sounds like community spirit in Olds, but maybe deeper, more inherent.
Perhaps. It often feels like a deeper, sometimes unspoken sense of collective duty and spontaneous generosity. A valuable insight here is to embrace that spirit when you see it. If your neighbors are all pitching in to help someone, consider how you might respectfully offer to lend a hand, even in a small way. Those small acts of kindness are noticed and deeply appreciated. They build real connections. And volunteering formally offers so many benefits. It pushes you beyond the usual expat bubble into genuine interactions with locals. It gives you a profound sense of purpose, which can be really important in combating feelings of isolation or homesickness. It's a chance to use the skills and experience you bring from Olds in ways that are really valuable in a different context. It broadens your worldview, fosters humility, gratitude, and of course, it's a fantastic way to meet people, both locals and other expats who share similar values.
It's fascinating how many different areas there are to potentially volunteer in. Education, maybe teaching ESL or computer skills. Healthcare, if you have a medical background. Environmental conservation, marine projects, reforestation, wildlife rescue, community development building, livelihood projects, nutrition programs, disaster relief, even animal welfare. Lots of options.
Yes, and you can find opportunities through local NGOs or foundations. Look for ones that are transparent about their work. There are also international volunteer organizations with structured programs. Sometimes religious organizations run projects, or even expat community groups organize charity drives or feeding programs. To connect, do some online research, ask around in those expat forums or Facebook groups, ask Filipino friends for introductions, maybe even visit organizations in person once you're there. A practical prompt. Think about 2 skills or passions you have from your life in Olds. How could you potentially share those through volunteering in the Philippines? How might you start researching organizations that align with those interests?
And even if formal volunteering isn't feasible, there are other ways to contribute, right?
Absolutely. You can provide financial support to reputable local charities or NGOs, make a conscious effort to buy local, support local, prioritize buying from local markets, small family businesses, Filipino artisans. That directly supports livelihoods. Choose ethical tourism operators when you travel around the country, ones that employ locals fairly, respect the culture, and support sustainability. Sometimes you can share your expertise informally, maybe mentor a local entrepreneur, help a small shop owner with their online presence if you're tech savvy. And honestly, just being an open, respectful, friendly expat who engages with people and makes an effort to learn the language is a form of positive contribution.
That's a great point. But it's important to manage expectations when getting involved, isn't it?
Very important. Patience and humility are key. Change takes time. Your impact might not be immediate or obvious. Be open to learning from locals. Don't just try to impose solutions based on how things are done in olds. Be culturally sensitive. Local approaches might be very different, but often effective in their own context. Be adaptable. And really try to avoid that white savior complex. Approach it as a partnership, working alongside people, not trying to save or fix them. Filipinos are incredibly capable and resilient. Recognize and respect that.
A valuable prompt to carry is, think about why you volunteered or got involved in community things back in olds. What was your intrinsic motivation? Try to bring that same desire for connection and contribution to the Philippines, even if the way you express it looks different.
Well said.
Okay, our final segment for this deep dive focuses on something increasingly important everywhere: sustainable living and environmental responsibility. This must take on a different dimension in the Philippines compared to, say, dealing with waste management in olds.
It's a really crucial topic there, yes. The Philippines faces significant environmental challenges, and it's also incredibly vulnerable to the impacts. It's right in the typhoon belt and the Pacific Ring of Fire, so it gets hit hard by intense typhoons, and is susceptible to earthquakes, volcanic activity, sea level rise, extreme heat. Climate change vulnerability is extremely high. Plastic pollution is also a huge, highly visible issue. You'll see it, unfortunately. Inadequate waste management systems combined with a heavy reliance on single-use plastics, especially small sachets for products, contribute significantly to plastic ending up in waterways and the ocean. Air pollution, particularly from traffic and industry, is a problem in big urban areas like Metro Manila. Water pollution from untreated sewage is also a concern, and deforestation due to illegal logging and land conversion impacts biodiversity and increases risks of landslides.
Wow, that paints a challenging picture. So, knowing these realities, what can individual expats realistically do to reduce their personal footprint as they settle in?
It starts with consciously reducing consumption, especially single-use plastics. Get into the habit immediately of carrying reusable shopping bags, a reusable water bottle, maybe even reusable cutlery or a coffee cup. Politely say no thank you to plastic bags or straws when offered. Reuse containers whenever possible. And learn the local waste management system. You'll likely need to segregate your waste. Biodegradable food scraps, recyclable paper, some plastics, metal, glass though collection varies, and residual everything else. Find out how your local barangay handles collection or if there are specific drop-off points. Maybe even look into composting if you have space.
That commitment to reusables seems key. A powerful prompt. Bring a good reusable bag and water bottle with you from olds. Make using them non-negotiable from day one. See how many single-use plastic items you can consciously refuse in your first week. It might surprise you.
Absolutely. Then there's energy. Be mindful of air conditioning. It's often the biggest electricity hog. Use it efficiently. Maybe set the temperature a degree or two higher. Rely on fans when possible. Dress lightly indoors. Adjust your comfort threshold a bit from what you needed in chilly olds winters. Switch to LED lighting. Unplug electronics when not in use to avoid that vampire drain. And if you have the option, especially if you own property, exploring solar power makes huge sense given the abundant sunshine. A key insight. You're shifting your energy-saving mindset from efficient heating, like in olds, to efficient cooling and general power usage.
Good point.
Yeah.
Water conservation, too.
Yes. Take shorter showers, turn off the tap while brushing teeth or washing dishes, fix any leaks promptly. If you have a garden, water it during the cooler parts of the day to reduce evaporation. Think about transportation. Walk or bike for short distances if it's safe and feasible. Use public transport like jeepneys, buses, or the train systems in Manila. When using Grab or other ride-sharing apps, consider options like GrabShare if available or carpool. And food choices matter. Try to eat local and seasonal produce as much as possible. It supports local farmers and drastically reduces the carbon footprint compared to imported goods. Consider reducing meat consumption. And just generally practice mindful consumption. Do you really need that new thing? Could you buy secondhand, repair something, or borrow it instead?
And beyond just personal habits, how can expats support broader environmental efforts there?
You can actively support local environmental initiatives. As we mentioned with volunteering, many great organizations like WWF Philippines, Greenpeace Southeast Asia, Haribon Foundation, Save Philippine Seas, Mother Earth Foundation, Eco Waste Coalition welcome volunteers for cleanups, tree planting, advocacy campaigns, maybe even office support. You can donate financially to support their work. Share information about sustainable practices within your own networks, respectfully, of course. Participate in awareness campaigns, perhaps focusing on positive solutions. And when you travel within the Philippines, make conscious choices. Support ecotourism operators who clearly prioritize conservation and benefit local communities. Avoid activities that harm wildlife or habitats. A reflective prompt. Research just one environmental organization working in the Philippines that resonates with your values. Think about how you could potentially support them, maybe follow them on social media, share their posts, make a small donation if you can. Every little bit helps.
And there we have it. Wow. What a truly profound journey we've mapped out today. Reflecting on that huge transition from the familiar, maybe predictable rhythms of Olds, Alberta, to the vibrant, complex, sun-kissed island home that awaits in the Philippines, we've covered so much ground, from the nitty-gritty planning of visas, budgets, finding a place to live, all the way to diving deep into cultural immersion, learning snippets of language, discovering new tastes, and even thinking about our responsibilities.
It's definitely clear, isn't it, that this path won't always be smooth sailing. There will be moments where Filipino time tests your Alberta-honed patience. You'll encounter bureaucracy that demands deep reserves of resilience. You'll have moments that remind you, maybe jarringly, that, wow, this is really not Canada. Well, not yet. Within those very challenges lie the most incredible opportunities for growth.
Yeah, that's so true. Each hurdle you manage to get over, each cultural misunderstanding you navigate with a bit of grace, every bit of patience you cultivate, it all builds a stronger, more adaptable, maybe more compassionate version of yourself. Those comfort zones you might have been firmly planted in back in Olds, they get replaced by these vast new frontiers, fostering an independence and a worldview you might never have discovered staying put.
And remember, thriving in the Philippines isn't just about surviving the logistics. It's about actively engaging. It's about finding ways to contribute positively, maybe through volunteering, maybe by supporting local businesses. It's about embracing environmental responsibility in a new context. It's about participating respectfully in the flow of daily life.
Your island home. It's more than just a destination on a map, isn't it? It's like this living, breathing entity that will inevitably shape you, just as you shape your life within it. That open, generous Filipino heart we talked about. It truly seems ready to welcome you if you approach it with an open mind, real humility, and a genuine willingness to learn and adapt.
So maybe carry these core principles with you. Embrace the new, be curious. Step outside that comfort zone. Cultivate immense patience, learn to flow with a different rhythm. Practice humility. Remember you're a guest. Be open to learning from local ways. Prioritize building genuine connections. Relationships are everything. Strive to contribute positively, however small it seems. Trust your own resilience. You can adapt and overcome challenges. And perhaps most importantly, stay profoundly grateful for the beauty, the warmth, and the incredibly unique experiences that await you.
The journey from Olds, Alberta to your island home. It's not just moving house, it really is an evolution. It's a chance to build a life that's incredibly rich with experiences, deep with human connections, and truly profound in terms of personal growth. So the question to leave you with is this. What new facet of yourself, what undiscovered strength or passion will you uncover as you truly embrace the vibrant, complex, beautiful story awaiting you in the Philippines? The adventure, it seems, has truly just begun.